Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me on the Slice of Healthcare podcast. I'm your host, Jared Taylor. Joining me today is David Brzozowski, uh, Senior, right? David Brzozowski,
Senior,
Senior,
yeah. Yeah.
the founder and CEO at Medacist. How are you today, David?
I'm very good. Working hard in the healthcare sector, trying to make things happen.
Love it. And, we're recording this on St. Patty's Day. You don't have a green beer with you, but I mean, it's fine. It's totally fine. Um, really, really excited to have you here today. We should just dig right in. We keep these short and sweet. Tell the audience a little bit about your background.
So my background personally is so I've been in the IT business for 40 plus years, really dating myself. But I'm an old mainframe programmer who dabbled in PC work years ago, back in the mid 90s, writing software on the PC as well. Um, and ultimately developed the RX Auditor from that at a large teaching hospital on the East Coast. And that's where it started back in 1997. So I've got 40 plus years of experience in designing and developing systems, both for insurance and healthcare. So that's my overall background.
When you were first starting the company, what was like that initial inspiration that you're like, I really want to do this. I want to spend a lot of time working on this. What was that like, that key moment, I guess you would say, that was like, I need to start this business. I want to.
Yeah. So there was two key moments. One more personal, one less personal. On the personal side, I was trying to make a few extra bucks to keep my kids in baby formula and Pampers at the time, and writing these PC programs for custom programs for small businesses. Um, the director of pharmacy at Yale came to me and said, "Hey, go ahead and we got these disparate systems. One of which is Pixis. We're the largest installation on the East Coast, and we have a false sense of security here that these boxes are finding, people that may be abusing." So I wrote an algorithm, and we did a 3 month look back of that data, and we found 14 nurses that were off to the races, and one of which was found clinically dead in one of the bathrooms with a morphine syringe in her leg, and they revived her and saved her life. And that was my aha moment, that not only is this going to keep my kids in baby formula, but also it's going to save lives. And it was a real eye opener. So that's what really pushed me forward to take that algorithm we wrote, enhance it, expand it, actually get a U.S. patent on it. We filed in '98, I believe. We got it in early 2000s, and it was just a great thing for both personally for my family, as well as for society as a whole.
And tell us where the business is at today. Give us, I guess, an overview of the company, where it stands.
So actually, in a couple of months, we're going to be 25 years in business, um, and so that's a big thing for us. So we were one of the pioneers, or the pioneer, if you will, in this industry, right? In this niche industry. Um, where we started was, so behind the algorithm, what we saw was there's not a lot back then in the late 90s. There wasn't a lot of time for people to look at these reports, the healthcare professionals to look at it. So what we saw they were asking for is actual information, actual reports to be pushed to them. So we had one of the very first SaaS models out there, before it was called SaaS or AS, application service provider, any of those acronyms. We were pushing data to a secure website for each hospital or health system, and delivered them actionable reports in the form of all related to diversion. But then we expanded also to clinical outcomes, financial and operational outcomes of all the automated dispensing. Um, so that's where it started, like pushing information. Then we also saw the need that some larger health systems want to delve in and get to that database and pull their own information. So we built what we call RX Order on Demand, which is more pulling information. So it's a push of information and a pull. That developed in the early 2000s. In mid 2000s, around 2008, we developed the RX Order 360, which was then we were one of the first to take dispensing data and electronic medical record data and match them and show the discrepancies between that. And that was also a push of information back to the customer. From there, we've built our database. So you can imagine that we have 25 years of diversion-related outcomes that are in our database. So with those outcomes and well over 2,000 hospitals that we've served, there's a lot of information there where we can look at behavioral patterns that no one else can. So the most powerful thing we have as a business today in this market is we have that data and the ability to apply machine learning to then build on those patterns and develop better models to find diversion. So that's our strong leverage point. We also built a whole next-gen product back from 17 to 19. The first delivery of which was RX Auditor Investigate, which uses this data platform that we have, this database, which we call Genesis, to pull out those outcomes, use that information to further curate. So not just looking at statistics and finding outliers, but then taking those measurements we have of that database, those patterns that we can measure and weight, and curate a list. So you take that funnel of X amount of outliers and you dwindle it down to a handful that are actionable. So you get rid of all those false positives that are out there. And then you do the auditing in the background to actually, weight those individuals and form a level of risk that you can act upon. And then we have a whole portal where the whole diversion team these days, there's risk management involved, there's pharmacy, nursing, sometimes security, HR. They can follow and track an individual through our portal and document and actually, vote on whether it's a positive or negative as far as diversion goes. So we built a whole next-gen product and Investigate. We've also built a product that we delivered most recently called Reconcile, which allows the customer to match a dispense to an administration in real time, because some of the mandates out there require the compliance by state to match every transaction and look at every transaction and document every dispense that was administered or not administered. So that's what we built so far. We have a couple more products that are coming out this year, later in the year. One's Insights and one's called Compliance, RX Order Compliance. And those will be delivered later in the year. And I can get into that more later.
David, when you look at the space that you're in, the drug diversion detection industry, right? What opportunities? What are some new opportunities that you've seen in to kick off 2023 and I guess beyond that you're continuing to look into, that maybe didn't exist before in this space?
Well, the biggest thing I see is the compliance issue. So what we have the ability to do is because we have all this information, we can benchmark hospitals or health systems against each other, meaning for positive feedback. So they can look at from a diversion standpoint where they may fit compared to their peers. Because we have all the demographics from a teaching hospital to a rural hospital. And by patient care area, we can tell them exactly where they fit. So it's sort of a report card of where you fit from a diversion, from clinical standpoint, operational, and financial. So that's a big push. Is compliance across all levels, state, federal, and also by taking in all these data sources that are out there, we could further uh, evaluate the compliance across all those different platforms.
And you know, with all opportunities, there also comes challenges. What are some new challenges, I guess, that are kind of coming to the forefront in this space that you're really watching closely in 2023?
So some of the challenges really have to come around, technology and the ability to cleanse data. So you have all these data sources, which I touched on. You have, you know, from the wholesaler, you get information on the drugs that are coming in. You get information from the automated dispensing machines. You get data from the electronic medical record, right? And you want to make all that meld together and work seamlessly. And in doing so, there's a lot of work to be done from the data engineering side, making sure that everything is tidied up and clean so that you're not reporting information that's not correct, right? So there's a big push for accuracy. So a lot of people or a lot of systems could suck in a lot of data, and it's the old adage, it's garbage in, garbage out, and that's something that we really got to keep track of and look at. Our mission is to is to deliver. Our statement is our mission is your safety, right? And your safety is patient safety and staff or called staff or nursing safety. Those are the two initiatives that we're trying to drive home.
And my last question for you, David, before we wrap up here is what's really getting you excited in terms of what's next? I know you mentioned a little bit about in terms of the company, right? What's coming up towards the middle of this year, end of this year, but even in general, right? What's exciting you about this space? What's exciting you about your business that is coming up next?
Well, from a company standpoint, we grow double digit every year, and that's great and fine. But what it really means is we're saving lives out there, right? I mean, we have statistics in our database of how many people we've monitored over the 25 years, and what percentages of the not only patient population but the patient care population, meaning the professionals that serve those patients, and safety, and trying to combat the opioid crisis. The opioid crisis has been around for a long time. I can remember just a short, brief thing here. I remember when I first started the company, Purdue Pharma is in Stamford, Connecticut, where we're based just north of them. And they came out to see me to see what I had because they were very interested in looking at the opioids that they were pushing out there and who was buying them because we had all this data in our database. And it opened up my eyes looking back now to see that they were concerned about getting that out there when in essence we're trying to combat that, right? And we've been doing it for 25 years. So that excites me that we could just save lives and move forward in making our algorithm much more tight so that it does find more.
Well, we look forward to staying, up to date with you to hear about how things continue to grow for the company. Congratulations on all your success this far, and for 25 years. That's it's. I think more and more people are understanding, but just in case they don't, it is very tough to be in business for 25 years. So kudos to you and your team for what you've built.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, once again, thank you so much for joining me on the Slice of Healthcare podcast, and we look forward to continuing to hear your story in hopefully future episodes.